You are listening to HOA Debrief. She tried to ban me while she stole again. If you touch that, I add another violation. Karen stood by the mailbox cluster shouting that she had witnesses who saw me taking packages and she was suspending my access. 3 neighbors stood frozen with their keys half in their boxes. I had my hand on my own mailbox door. I work as an electrician in Kansas City, Missouri, and I live in Clearbrook Village HOA, a development with a management office on-site and long lines. My neighborhood reputation is at risk because Karen is spreading lies. Teresa Vaughn is the board president, and she has decided I am a thief. Teresa raised a laminated policy sheet. I have a process and you will follow it, she said. She lowered her voice to a stage whisper that carried to everyone. You confessed. You told me you hang around the mailboxes and take what you need. I have it documented. I had never said that. I had never spoken to her about packages at all. But 3 people were listening, and I watched their faces change. Your timeline is irrelevant, Teresa said. She pulled a phone from her blazer pocket and held it up like a badge. I am reporting you to the police right now. She turned the phone toward the neighbors and started performing for the camera. This is Teresa Vaughn, board president of Clearbrook Village. I am documenting a confession and a trespass in progress. I did not move. The mailbox door was still half open. My mail was inside. Teresa kept the phone rolling and stepped closer. She smelled like floral spray and coffee. The neighbors started to back away. One woman clutched her stack of catalogs and hurried toward the sidewalk. A man in a Royals cap shook his head and turned the other direction. The 3rd neighbor, a younger guy I recognized from the dog park, stayed and watched. Teresa lowered the phone. She pulled a folded notice from the folder organizer. This is your formal suspension of mailbox access, she said. Effective immediately. You will retrieve your mail from the management office during business hours only, and you will pay a $50 administrative fee per visit. I finally spoke. I did not take anything. Teresa smiled. That is not what you told me last Tuesday. You admitted you were checking the cluster for open boxes. You said you were looking for items addressed to vacant units. You said you were helping. I had been at a job site in Overland Park last Tuesday. I opened my mouth to say so, but Teresa was already talking over me. She waved the notice. I have witnesses. I have your own words. And I have this. She reached into the folder and pulled out a torn mailer. It was addressed to a unit 2 buildings over. The envelope had been ripped along the top edge. Inside was a sealed envelope with no return address. This was found near your trash bins this morning, Teresa said. It contains cash intended for a charity raffle. The neighbors were going to donate it to the animal shelter. Now it is evidence of theft. The younger neighbor stepped forward. I filmed some of this, he said quietly. He held up his phone. I was getting my mail and I saw her yelling. I did not see him touch anything. Teresa pivoted. She pointed at him with the torn mailer still in her hand. You are interfering with an HOA investigation. I can issue a violation for that. The neighbor did not move. He kept the phone up, just saying what I saw. Teresa turned back to me. She slapped the notice onto the top of the mailbox cluster. You have 72 hours to respond. If you fail to comply, we move to a formal hearing. She leaned in. I have a process and you will follow it. I took the notice. It was printed on HOA letterhead with no signature line. The text said I was accused of tampering with mail, theft of charitable funds, and operating a side business from my residence. The last line made my stomach drop. The board reserves the right to recommend criminal charges and immediate lien enforcement. Teresa pulled a small radio from her blazer pocket and clicked the button. This is Teresa. Subject is non-compliant and argumentative. I need a unit to swing by the north mailbox cluster for documentation. She released the button. The radio squawked static, but no one responded. She clicked it again. Copy? Still nothing. She shoved it back in her pocket and turned to the remaining neighbor. You saw him. You are a witness. I need you to make a formal statement to management. The neighbor looked at me. He shook his head. I saw you yelling. I did not see him do anything wrong. Teresa pulled out a notepad and started writing. She read aloud as she wrote. Witness refuses to cooperate. Witness may have financial relationship with subject. She snapped the notepad shut and walked away. A golf cart with a blinking amber light was parked 20 feet down the sidewalk. She climbed in, turned the key, and crawled toward the community center. The amber light blinked the entire way. I looked at the neighbor. Thank you, I said. He shrugged. That was wild. Send me your number. I will send you the clip. His name was Eric. He lived 2 buildings over and worked from home doing something in tech. He had a beagle that barked at every car. I gave him my number. My phone buzzed 30 seconds later with a video file. The clip showed Teresa shouting at me while I stood still. It showed her waving the torn mailer. It showed her pulling the radio and performing the fake call. It did not show me touching any package or mail. I walked back to my unit. The notice was still in my hand. I read it 3 more times. The side business accusation was the part that made no sense. I do electrical work for a contractor. I do not run anything from home. I do not even have a separate business phone. I called the management office. A woman answered on the 4th ring. Clearbrook Village. How can I help you? I explained the situation. I explained the accusation. I explained the torn mailer. She put me on hold. When she came back, her voice was tight. Teresa filed the complaint this morning. You are required to respond in writing within 72 hours. If you fail to respond, the board will proceed with enforcement action. She paused. I cannot discuss Teresa's evidence, but I can tell you that management has not reviewed it yet. I asked if I could see the evidence. Not until the hearing, she said, unless you file a formal records request. That takes 7 business days. I asked if there was a faster way. She hesitated. You can request an informal meeting with the property manager. But Teresa has already said she will not participate unless it is a formal hearing. I thanked her and hung up. I sat on my couch and opened my laptop. I pulled up my work calendar. Last Tuesday, I had been on a job in Overland Park from 7 in the morning until 6 at night. My phone location history would show it. My contractor could confirm it. But Teresa had already told 3 neighbors I confessed. She had already filed a written complaint. She was already treating it like established fact. I opened the neighborhood chat app. Teresa had posted twice in the last hour. The first post said the board was investigating mail theft and residents should report any suspicious activity. The second post said a resident had been caught tampering with packages and the matter was under review. She did not name me, but she linked a photo of the north mailbox cluster with a red circle drawn around my unit number on the map. Someone replied asking if it was serious. Teresa responded immediately. Very serious. The resident confessed and we have physical evidence. We are working with local authorities. I started typing a reply, then stopped. Anything I said would sound defensive. Anything I said would get screenshotted and used later. I closed the app. I needed proof that I was not there. I needed proof that Teresa was lying. And I needed it fast, because the 72-hour clock was already running. I opened my email and searched for any message from Teresa. Nothing. I searched the HOA portal. I found 3 notices I had received over the past year. One was about a lawn violation that I had fixed the same day. One was about parking in a guest spot overnight, which I had not done. One was about a noise complaint from a party I did not throw. All 3 notices had been issued by Teresa. All 3 had been rescinded after I responded with proof. The pattern was obvious now. I took a screenshot of each notice. I opened a new folder on my desktop and labeled it Evidence. I dragged the screenshots in. I added the video Eric had sent me. I opened my phone location history and exported the data for the past 2 weeks. The file was too large to attach to an email, so I saved it to a portable thumb drive. The drive was small, gray, and fit between 2 fingers. I called my contractor. He confirmed I had been on the Overland Park job all day Tuesday. He offered to write a letter. I told him to hold off until I knew what I needed. He asked if everything was okay. I said it was HOA nonsense. He laughed and said he was glad he rented. I printed my location history. The document was 8 pages. I highlighted the entry for last Tuesday. The map showed a cluster of pings in Overland Park between 7 and 6. I saved the printed pages in a clear binder. My phone rang. It was the property manager. Her name was Dana. She sounded tired. "I wanted to give you a heads up," she said. "Teresa just submitted a request to have your vehicle towed if it is parked in any common area after 6 tonight. She says your registration is expired." My registration was not expired. I had renewed it in January. I told Dana that. "Do you have proof?" she asked. "I do," I said. "Bring it to the office before 6, Dana said. "Otherwise, the tow company has authorization to remove your car." She paused. "I am sorry. This is not normal procedure, but Teresa is insistent. If you are enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more HOA revenge content." I grabbed my registration paperwork and headed to the management office. It was 4:30. The office was in a small building near the front gate, next to the pool and the clubhouse. There was always a line. When I got there, 8 people were waiting. Dana was behind the desk with one other staff member. Teresa was standing to the side with her folder organizer, talking to a man in a polo shirt. The man had a clipboard and a name tag that said Vendor Services. I got in line. Teresa saw me immediately. She smiled and walked over. "You are not allowed in the office during an active investigation," she said. She pulled the radio from her pocket again and clicked it. "Dana, I have the subject in the lobby. Please have him removed." Dana looked up from her desk. She met my eyes and gave a tiny shake of her head. Then she looked at Teresa. "He is a resident. He is allowed to conduct business here." Teresa clicked the radio again. "This is a violation of procedure. I am documenting this as obstruction." Dana did not respond. She called the next person in line. Teresa stayed next to me. She opened the folder and pulled out a laminated sheet. She held it up so I could read it. The sheet said all residents under investigation are prohibited from accessing common areas without board approval. "That is not policy," I said quietly. "It is now," Teresa said. "Emergency amendment. Approved this morning." The man with the clipboard stepped forward. He looked at me, then at Teresa. "Is this the guy?" he asked. Teresa nodded. "This is him. He is banned from using any vendor services until he pays his outstanding fees." "I do not have any outstanding fees," I said. Teresa pulled a printed invoice from the folder. "You owe $300 in administrative review fees, late payment penalties, and violation fines. Until those are paid, you cannot use the trash service, the landscaping contractor, or the tow company for legitimate removals." The vendor looked uncomfortable. He turned to Dana. "Is that right?" Dana was still helping the person at the desk. She did not look up. "All vendor authorizations require written documentation from the property manager. I have not authorized any service restrictions." Teresa turned to the vendor. "I am the board president. I have the authority to issue service restrictions under emergency bylaws." The vendor shook his head. "I need written authorization from management. That is our contract." Teresa slammed her folder onto the counter. "This is written authorization." She pulled out a form with a signature stamp at the bottom. The stamp said Teresa Vaughn, board president. Dana finally stood up. She walked over and picked up the form. She scanned it and handed it back to Teresa. "This is not valid. You cannot self-authorize service restrictions. That requires a vote of the full board and countersignature from the property manager. Teresa snatched the form back. Then I am calling an emergency board meeting right now. She pulled her phone out and started typing. Dana looked at me. Go ahead and give me your registration. I will note it in the file. Your car is fine. I handed her the paperwork. She made a photocopy and handed it back. Teresa was still typing furiously on her phone. The vendor backed toward the door. I am going to step out, he said. Call me when you have the proper authorization. He left. Teresa looked up from her phone. She stared at Dana. You just undermined the board. That is grounds for termination. Dana did not flinch. I am following the management contract. If you have an issue, you can file a complaint with corporate. Teresa turned to me. You think you won something here? You did not. I have more evidence. I have witnesses. I have records that prove you have been stealing mail for months. She leaned closer. I pulled your portal login history. You have been accessing the system after hours. You have been downloading resident information. You have been using HOA resources for personal profit. I had logged into the portal twice in the past 6 months. Once to pay a fee, once to check a maintenance schedule. I had never downloaded anything. I would like to see that login history, I said. Teresa pulled a printed sheet from the folder. She held it up but did not hand it over. The sheet had rows of timestamps and usernames. None of the usernames were mine. That is not my account, I said. Teresa folded the paper and put it back. The portal system shows otherwise. She clicked her radio again. I need a deputy at the Clearbrook Village Management Office. I have a subject refusing to leave and making threats. Dana raised her voice. No one is threatening anyone. If you keep disrupting the office, I will ask you to leave. Teresa turned and walked out. The golf cart was parked outside the front door. She climbed in, turned the key, and crawled toward the east parking lot. The amber light blinked. Dana exhaled. I am sorry, she said. This is out of control. I asked her if I could get a copy of the portal login history. She nodded. I will run a report tonight, but I can tell you right now there is nothing under your account. She looked at the line of residents still waiting. If Teresa files anything else, call me directly. Do not wait. I thanked her and left. My car was still in my assigned spot. No tow truck, no boot. I sat in the driver's seat and checked my phone. Teresa had posted again in the neighborhood chat. The post said a resident had threatened staff during an investigation and the matter was being referred to law enforcement. She included a photo of the management office entrance with a timestamp from 10 minutes ago. Someone replied asking what happened. Teresa said the resident became aggressive and refused to follow emergency protocols. Another person replied saying they had seen me in the office and I looked calm. Teresa replied that appearances can be deceiving and residents should trust the board. I drove home. I parked. I sat in my car and tried to think through the next move. Teresa had stacked 3 separate accusations now. Package theft. Side business. Threatening staff. None of it was true. All of it was documented in writing. All of it was spreading through the neighborhood faster than I could respond. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Eric. Dude, she just posted again. This is insane. I opened the chat app. Teresa had posted a new message. The board has voted to suspend the subject's access to all common areas pending a formal hearing. The hearing is scheduled for next Monday at 7. Residents are encouraged to attend and provide testimony. She included a link to a hearing notice. The notice listed my full name, unit number, and a summary of the charges. I screenshotted the post. I added it to the evidence folder. I looked at the thumb drive sitting on my passenger seat. I needed more than screenshots. I needed something that Teresa could not argue with. I needed timestamps she could not fake. I needed a paper trail that went back further than her complaint. I opened my laptop and logged into the HOA portal. I navigated to the documents section. There were bylaws, meeting minutes, financial reports, and maintenance schedules. I opened the meeting minutes from the past 6 months. I searched for my name. Nothing. I searched for the words theft and investigation. Nothing until this week. I searched for emergency bylaws. One result. It was a document uploaded this morning by Teresa. The document was titled Emergency Amendments to Common Area Access Policy. It was 3 pages long. It said the board president had the authority to restrict access during active investigations. It said restricted residents must pay administrative fees before access is restored. It said the amendments were effective immediately and did not require a vote. I downloaded the document. The file properties showed it had been created at 6 this morning. The author field said Teresa Vaughn. I saved the file to the thumb drive. I logged out and opened my email. I drafted a message to Dana. I explained that the emergency amendments appeared to violate the bylaws. I explained that Teresa had created the document the same morning she filed the complaint. I attached the file property screenshot. I asked Dana if the amendments had been reviewed by the management company or the HOA attorney. I sent the message. My phone rang 2 minutes later. It was Dana. I just saw your email, she said. I did not know about those amendments. Teresa did not submit them for review. She paused. This is a problem. The board cannot unilaterally change the bylaws. That requires a membership vote and 60 days' notice. I asked if that meant the amendments were invalid. Yes, Dana said. But Teresa is going to argue that emergency powers allow her to act first and ratify later. She has done this before. Last year she tried to ban overnight guests without a vote. We had to threaten legal action to get her to back down. I asked what I should do. Document everything, Dana said. If she tries to restrict your access, call me immediately. If she tries to issue fines, do not pay them. If she tries to tow your car, call the police and report it as an unauthorized tow. She sighed. I am sorry this is happening. Teresa has a history of targeting residents she does not like. You are not the first. I asked if anyone had ever filed a complaint against her. Several people, Dana said. But Teresa controls the board. She appoints her friends to the committee positions. She runs the meetings. She controls the agenda. Unless you can get a majority of homeowners to vote her out, she is untouchable. I thanked her and hung up. I sat in the car and stared at the thumb drive. I had proof that Teresa was lying. I had proof that she was making up rules. I had proof that she was abusing her position. But none of it mattered if I could not get it in front of the right people. I needed a plan. I needed to force Teresa into a position where she had to answer for the lies. I needed a public confrontation where she could not control the narrative. The hearing was Monday. That gave me 4 days. I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing a timeline. I listed every interaction with Teresa. I listed every false accusation. I listed every procedural violation. I listed every piece of evidence I had. The document was 5 pages long. I saved it to the thumb drive. I printed a copy and added it to the evidence binder. I took a photo of the binder and the thumb drive together. I texted the photo to Eric. If anything happens to me, I wrote, take this to Dana at the management office. Eric replied immediately. What is going on? I will explain later, I wrote. Just hold on to this. I got out of the car and walked to my unit. The sun was setting. The amber light from Teresa's golf cart was visible 2 buildings over, blinking slowly near the clubhouse. That night I could not sleep. I kept replaying the confrontation at the mailbox cluster. I kept hearing Teresa say, "You confessed." I kept seeing the neighbors walk away. I kept thinking about the hearing on Monday and how Teresa would stack the room with her friends. I kept thinking about the torn mailer and the sealed envelope of cash and how perfect it was as a frame-up. Too perfect. At 2 in the morning, I got up and walked to the window. The golf cart was parked outside the clubhouse. The amber light was off. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera. I zoomed in. The back of the cart had a plastic storage bin bungee corded to the seat. The lid was not fully closed. I put on my jacket and walked outside. The complex was silent. The streetlights were dim. I walked toward the clubhouse. The cart was parked in a red curbed zone marked Authorized Vehicles Only. I stopped 10 feet away. I could see the storage bin more clearly now. Inside were file folders, a portable scanner, a label maker, and a box of envelopes. The envelopes were the same size and color as the torn mailer Teresa had shown me at the mailbox cluster. I took 3 photos. I zoomed in on the envelopes. I took another photo. I started to walk back to my unit. A voice called out behind me. "Hey!" I turned. A man in a gray uniform was walking toward me. He had a flashlight and a badge clipped to his belt. He was gate staff. I recognized him from the front entrance. "You good?" he asked. "I am fine," I said. "Just walking." He looked at the golf cart, then at me. "You are not supposed to be near HOA vehicles." "I did not touch it," I said. He nodded. "I know. I saw you on the camera." He gestured toward the clubhouse. "There is a camera above the door. It sees the whole lot." I asked if the camera ran all the time. 24/7, he said. "Saves to a server in the office." He paused. "You are the guy Teresa is going after, right?" I nodded. He shook his head. "She cannot suspend your access. Only management can do that. She tried to tell me to keep you out of the gate yesterday. I told her I do not take orders from board members. She got pissed." I asked if he would be willing to write that down. He hesitated. "I could get fired." "I understand," I said. "But if Teresa keeps lying, someone needs to say something." He looked at the clubhouse, then back at me. "I will think about it." He handed me a small notepad. "Write your number. If I decide to help, I will text you." I wrote my number and handed the notepad back. He walked toward the gate. I walked back to my unit. I checked the photos on my phone. The envelopes in the storage bin were clear. The label maker was visible. The portable scanner was visible. It was not proof that Teresa had planted the torn mailer, but it was close. I texted the photos to Eric. I saved them to the thumb drive. I added them to the evidence binder. The next morning, I woke up to 6 missed calls. 3 were from Dana. 3 were from a number I did not recognize. I called Dana first. "Teresa is claiming you vandalized her golf cart last night," Dana said. "She filed a police report. She says you broke into the storage bin and stole documents." "I did not touch the cart," I said. "I took photos of it from 10 feet away. The gate staff saw me. There is camera footage." Dana exhaled. "I will pull the footage." "But Teresa is already saying you tampered with it. She is demanding that management suspend your account and ban you from the property." I asked if she could do that. "Not without proof," Dana said, "but she is making my life hell. She called corporate twice this morning. She is threatening to fire me if I do not comply." I told Dana about the envelopes in the storage bin. I told her about the label maker and the scanner. I told her I had photos. "Send them to me," Dana said. "I will add them to the file." She paused. "The hearing is Monday. If you want to win this, you need to bring everything you have. You need witnesses. You need documents. You need a timeline that she cannot argue with." "I have all of that," I said. "Good," Dana said, "because Teresa is not going to make this easy. I hung up and called the unknown number. A man answered. This is Officer Grant with Kansas City PD. I am following up on a report filed by Teresa Vaughn. Are you available to speak? I am, I said. He asked if I had been near the clubhouse last night. I said yes. He asked if I had touched the golf cart. I said no. He asked if I had taken anything. I said no. He asked if I had photos. I said yes. Can you send those to me? He asked. I sent the photos. He was quiet for a moment. Okay, he said. These do not show any damage. They do not show you touching the vehicle. He paused. Ms. Vaughn says you broke into the storage bin and stole documents. Do you have any documents from the bin? No, I said. I took photos and walked away. He sighed. All right. I am going to note this as unfounded. If she wants to pursue it, she needs to provide proof of damage or theft. He paused. Off the record, this sounds like an HOA dispute. You might want to talk to a lawyer. I thanked him and hung up. I opened my laptop and searched for HOA attorneys in Kansas City. I found 3. I called the first one. The receptionist said the attorney was booked for 2 weeks. I called the second one. The receptionist said they do not handle HOA disputes. I called the third one. The receptionist put me through. The attorney's name was Mark. He listened while I explained the situation. He asked a few questions. He asked if I had documentation. I said yes. He asked if I had witnesses. I said yes. He asked if the hearing was formal or informal. Teresa is calling it formal, I said. But I do not think the board has followed proper notice procedures. They probably have not, Mark said. Most HOA boards do not. He paused. Here is the problem. Even if you win the hearing, Teresa can keep filing complaints. She can keep stacking violations. She can keep making your life miserable. The only way to stop her permanently is to vote her off the board or sue the HOA for harassment. I asked how much a lawsuit would cost. $10,000 to $30,000, he said. Maybe more if it goes to trial, and it could take a year. He paused. My advice? Document everything. Attend the hearing. Present your evidence. If the board rules against you, file a complaint with corporate and the state. If that does not work, then we talk about litigation. I thanked him and hung up. $10,000. A year. I did not have that kind of time or money. I needed to win this on Monday. I spent the next 2 days refining the timeline. I added every email, every text, every photo, every witness statement. I added the portal audit log that Dana had sent me. The log showed my account had only 2 logins in 6 months. It showed Teresa's account had 40 logins in the past week alone. It showed she had accessed resident files, financial records, and vendor contracts. It showed she had downloaded the files at 3 in the morning. I added the log to the binder. I saved it to the thumb drive. I printed 3 copies. 1 for me, 1 for Dana, 1 for the board. On Sunday night, Eric texted me. Teresa just posted in the chat. She says the hearing is closed to non-residents. She says only board members and witnesses can attend. I replied, that is not legal. HOA hearings are supposed to be open to all homeowners. Eric sent a screenshot of the post. Teresa had written, due to the sensitive nature of the investigation, tomorrow's hearing will be limited to board members, management staff, and approved witnesses. Residents who attempt to attend without authorization will be removed. I called Dana. She did not answer. I left a voicemail. I texted her the screenshot. She replied 10 minutes later. I will be there. Bring your evidence. I could not sleep that night either. I kept running through the presentation in my head. I kept imagining Teresa interrupting. I kept imagining the board ruling against me anyway. I kept thinking about the envelopes in the storage bin and the portal log and the timeline and whether any of it would matter. At 6 in the morning, I got up and made coffee. I laid out the evidence binder, the thumb drive, and the printed timeline on the kitchen table. I took a photo. I texted it to Eric. This is everything. If the hearing goes south, make sure Dana gets this. Eric replied immediately. Good luck. I will be outside the building. The hearing was at 7. I got to the clubhouse at 6:45. The parking lot was full. Teresa's golf cart was parked near the front door, amber light off. A sign on the door said, HOA hearing in progress, authorized personnel only. I pulled the door open. Inside, the main room had been set up with a long table at the front and rows of folding chairs facing it. Teresa sat in the center of the table with 2 other board members. Dana sat to the side with a laptop. 3 residents I did not recognize sat in the front row. Teresa looked up when I walked in. You are early, she said. The hearing starts at 7. I know, I said. I wanted to set up. There is nothing to set up, Teresa said. You will sit in the front row. When we call you, you will present your defense. You have 10 minutes. She gestured to the chairs. I sat down. I placed the binder on my lap and the thumb drive in my jacket pocket. The other residents glanced at me and looked away. At 7, Teresa called the hearing to order. She read from a script. This is a formal hearing convened by the Clearbrook Village HOA Board to address violations by a resident. The resident has been accused of mail theft, operating an unauthorized business, and threatening staff. The board has reviewed the evidence and will now hear testimony. She looked at me. You may present your defense. I stood up. I opened the binder. I started with the timeline. I explained where I was last Tuesday. I showed the location data. I showed the contractor statement. I showed the portal log proving I had not accessed the system improperly. Teresa interrupted. That log is incomplete. I have a separate log that shows additional access. I asked to see it. She pulled a folder from her organizer. She handed me a printed sheet. The sheet had rows of timestamps and usernames. None of the usernames matched mine. The format was different from the official portal log Dana had sent me. This is not from the official system, I said. The timestamps do not match. The usernames are wrong. Where did this come from? Teresa took the sheet back. I generated this from the backup server. It shows the complete access history. Dana stood up. There is no backup server. The portal only logs to one system. I pulled the official report. It shows 2 logins under his account in 6 months. Teresa slammed her hand on the table. You are undermining this hearing. I am the board president, and I have the authority to present evidence. You have the authority to present accurate evidence, Dana said. That sheet is fabricated. One of the other board members leaned forward. He was an older man with glasses. His name tag said Bob. How do we know which log is real? I pulled the thumb drive from my pocket. I held it between 2 fingers. This has the official portal export. It has the file properties. It has the metadata. It proves Teresa created that fake log this morning. Teresa stood up. That thumb drive is inadmissible. You are not allowed to bring outside materials. That is not a rule, Dana said. He is allowed to bring evidence. Teresa turned to the other board members. I move to dismiss this hearing. The resident is disrupting the process. We should proceed with enforcement. Bob shook his head. I want to see the thumb drive. I handed it to him. He plugged it into Dana's laptop. He opened the portal export. He scrolled through the log. He opened the file properties. He looked at Teresa. This shows you accessed the system 40 times last week. It shows you downloaded resident files at 3 in the morning. It shows you created that fake log at 6 this morning. Teresa grabbed the laptop. That is a lie. The system was hacked. Someone planted that data. Bob took the laptop back. He looked at Dana. Is this log legitimate? Yes, Dana said. I pulled it directly from the server yesterday. It has not been altered. Bob looked at Teresa. You need to explain this. Teresa sat down. She opened the folder organizer. She pulled out the torn mailer. This resident stole packages. I have physical evidence. I have witness statements. I have a confession. I pulled the video from Eric out of my phone. I played it. The video showed Teresa shouting at me. It showed her waving the mailer. It showed her performing for her phone camera. It did not show me touching anything. The confession is a lie, I said. I was not even in the neighborhood last Tuesday. I was at a job in Overland Park. I have location data. I have a contractor statement. I have timestamps that prove Teresa fabricated the entire story. Teresa pointed at the screen. That video is edited. It does not show the full interaction. Eric walked into the room. I filmed the whole thing, he said. It is not edited. He handed his phone to Bob. I have the original file with the metadata intact. Bob watched the video. He looked at Teresa. This does not show him taking anything. It shows you yelling at him. Teresa stood up again. She grabbed the folder organizer. She pulled out another sheet. This is a witness statement from a neighbor who saw him loitering at the mailbox cluster. I asked to see the statement. Teresa handed it to me. The statement was one paragraph. It said I had been seen near the mailboxes on multiple occasions. It was signed by a name I did not recognize. The signature looked like a stamped copy. I do not know this person, I said. And this is not a real signature. It is a stamp. Teresa snatched the paper back. The witness asked to remain anonymous. I am protecting their identity. That is not how witness statements work, Dana said. Anonymous statements are not admissible. Teresa turned to the other board members. Are we going to let this resident derail the entire hearing? I have presented evidence. I have followed procedure. I move that we proceed to a vote. Bob shook his head. I am not voting until we get clarity. He looked at me. Do you have anything else? I pulled out the photos of the golf cart. I showed the storage bin. I showed the envelopes. I showed the label maker and the scanner. I explained that Teresa had accused me of vandalizing her cart after I took these photos. I explained that the gate staff could confirm I never touched it. I explained that the camera footage would show the same thing. Bob looked at Teresa. Why do you have a box of envelopes in your cart? Teresa folded her arms. I use those for HOA correspondence. Those are the same envelopes as the torn mailer you showed me, I said. You planted that mailer near my trash bins. You framed me. Teresa's face turned red. That is defamation. I am going to sue you for slander. Dana stood up. She pulled a document from her laptop bag. This is the gate camera footage from Friday night. It shows him standing 10 feet from the cart. It shows him taking photos. It shows him walking away. It does not show any vandalism or theft. Bob took the document. He looked at Teresa. You filed a false police report. Teresa grabbed her folder and stood up. I am done with this. I am calling an executive session. This hearing is over. You cannot call an executive session in the middle of a hearing, Bob said. Sit down. Teresa did not sit. She turned to the residents in the front row. You saw him. You heard him. He is a liar and a thief. She pointed at me. I want him removed from the property. One of the residents stood up. I did not see anything. I just saw you yelling. The second resident nodded. Same. You told us to come here and back you up, but I do not have anything to say. Teresa's mouth opened and closed. She looked at the third resident. The third resident shook their head and walked out. Bob stood up. This hearing is a mess. I move to dismiss all charges and recommend a full audit of Teresa's conduct. The other board member, a woman named Lisa, nodded. I second that. Teresa slammed the folder organizer on the table. You are both fired. I am calling an emergency board meeting and voting you out. You cannot fire board members, Dana said. Only the membership can do that. Teresa grabbed her things and walked toward the door. This is not over, she said. She pushed the door open and left. The amber light on the golf cart turned on. She climbed in and drove toward the management office. Bob looked at me. I am sorry. This should never have happened. I asked what happened next. We will refer this to corporate, Bob said. Teresa is clearly abusing her position. We will also request a third-party audit of the HOA finances. If she has been fabricating documents, there could be other issues. Dana closed her laptop. I will file a formal complaint with the management company tonight. I will also recommend that Teresa be removed from the board immediately. I thanked them and left. Eric was waiting outside. That was wild, he said. Did you win? I think so, I said. But Teresa is not going to let this go. We walked toward the parking lot. The golf cart was parked near the management office. The amber light was blinking. Teresa was inside the office. I could see her through the window pointing at someone. My phone buzzed. It was a text from the gate staff worker. I saw the footage. I will write a statement. She cannot keep doing this. I replied with a thank you. I saved his number. I added his offer to the evidence file. That night, Teresa posted in the neighborhood chat again. She said the hearing had been disrupted by false evidence and the matter was under review. She said the board would issue a decision within 72 hours. She said residents should disregard any rumors about the process. Someone replied asking what rumors. Teresa did not respond. Someone else replied asking if the charges had been dropped. Teresa did not respond. Eric posted the video. Within an hour, 15 people had watched it. Within 2 hours, 30 people had commented. Most of them were asking why Teresa had lied. A few were asking why the board had allowed the hearing to proceed. Teresa deleted the video. Eric posted it again. Teresa deleted it again. Eric posted it a third time with a note that said, "Stop deleting evidence." At midnight, Teresa posted a final message. She said the neighborhood chat was being used to harass board members and she was shutting it down. The chat went offline. I texted Eric. She is panicking. He replied, "Good." The next morning, Dana called. Teresa submitted her resignation this morning, she said. The board accepted it. She is no longer involved in HOA business. I asked if she would still be able to file complaints. Technically, yes, Dana said, but the board has agreed to review any future complaints with a third party before proceeding. They are also implementing new policies to prevent selective enforcement. She paused. Corporate is sending an auditor next week. If Teresa has been misusing funds or fabricating documents, it will come out. I asked what happened to the charges against me. Dismissed, Dana said. The board voted unanimously. You are cleared. She paused. I am sorry you had to go through this. I thanked her and hung up. I walked to the mailbox cluster. The torn mailer was gone. The notice Teresa had slapped on top of the boxes was gone. A new sign had been posted. It said, "All HOA actions require written authorization from the property manager. Board members do not have independent enforcement authority." I opened my mailbox. Inside was a letter from the board. It said the charges against me had been dismissed. It said the board was reviewing Teresa's conduct. It said I was entitled to reimbursement for any fees I had paid during the investigation. I had not paid any fees. I walked back to my unit. Eric was outside with his beagle. "Hey," he said. "I heard Teresa resigned." "She did," I said. "Good," he said. "She was a nightmare." He paused. "Did you ever find out why she targeted you?" "No," I said. "But I think she just liked having power." Eric nodded. "Well, it is over now." It was not over. 2 days later, the auditor arrived. Dana called me that afternoon. "You need to hear this," she said. The auditor found discrepancies in the HOA finances. Teresa had been skimming petty cash from the clubhouse. She had been ordering supplies and returning them for gift cards. She had been using HOA vendor accounts for personal purchases. She paused. "The total is over $15,000. I asked if the police were involved. "Yes," Dana said. "The board filed a report this morning. The auditor also found evidence that Teresa had been stealing packages from the mailbox cluster and reselling the contents online. She had a whole operation running out of her unit." I thought about the torn mailer. I thought about the envelopes in the golf cart. I thought about the label maker and the scanner. It all made sense now. "She framed me to cover her own theft," I said. "Exactly," Dana said. "She needed a scapegoat. When you started asking questions, she doubled down." She paused. "The board wants to issue a formal apology. They also want to compensate you for your time and stress." I told Dana I did not need compensation. I just wanted it on record. "It is," Dana said. "The auditor's report will be filed with the county and the state. Teresa is done." That night, the neighborhood chat came back online under new moderation. The first post was from Bob. He explained that Teresa had resigned. He explained that the board had dismissed the charges against me. He explained that an audit had uncovered financial misconduct. He said the board was implementing new oversight policies and would hold an open meeting next month to discuss reforms. Someone replied asking if Teresa would face charges. Bob said yes. Someone else replied asking if I would sue. I did not reply. 3 weeks later, Dana called again. "Teresa was arrested this morning," she said. "The DA charged her with theft, fraud, and filing a false police report. She is out on bond, but she is not allowed on HOA property." I asked if the case would go to trial. "Probably not," Dana said. "Her attorney is negotiating a plea deal. She will likely get probation and restitution." The next day, a process server knocked on my door. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a settlement offer from Teresa's attorney. She was offering to pay $2,000 and issue a written apology in exchange for me agreeing not to sue. I called Mark, the HOA attorney. He reviewed the offer. "It is low," he said. "You could get more if you sue, but it would take time and money." I thought about it. I thought about the hearing. I thought about the evidence binder and the thumb drive and the timeline. I thought about Teresa standing in the clubhouse, red-faced and screaming while the board dismissed every lie. I told Mark to accept the offer. 2 weeks later, the check arrived. The apology letter arrived the same day. It was one paragraph. Teresa admitted she had made false accusations. She admitted she had abused her position. She admitted she had caused harm. The letter was signed and notarized. I framed it. I hung it in my kitchen next to the portal audit log. The HOA held the open meeting in early summer. Over 100 residents attended. Bob presented the new policies. No board member could issue violations without management approval. All enforcement actions required documentation and third-party review. All financial transactions required dual signatures. The membership voted to approve the changes unanimously. At the end of the meeting, Bob asked if anyone had questions. A woman in the back row raised her hand. She asked what happened to the packages Teresa stole. Bob said the police had recovered some items from Teresa's unit. He said victims could file claims with the DA's office. He said the HOA was also working with the postal inspector. Eric asked if Teresa would ever come back. "No," Bob said. "She is banned from the property. If she shows up, we call the police." Someone started clapping, then someone else. Within seconds, the entire room was applauding. I did not clap. I just sat and watched. It was over. I still see the golf cart sometimes. The new board president uses it for inspections. The amber light is gone. The storage bin is gone. It looks like a normal golf cart now. I still check my mailbox every day. I still see neighbors at the cluster. No one talks about Teresa anymore. It is like she never existed. But I kept the evidence. The binder. The thumb drive. The timeline. The apology letter. I kept all of it. Because I know how fast things can change. I know how quickly someone with a little power can make your life hell. And I know how important it is to have proof. One afternoon, I was walking to my car when I saw Dana near the management office. She waved me over. "I wanted to thank you," she said. "If you had not pushed back, Teresa would still be here. She would still be stealing. She would still be lying." I told her I was just defending myself. "I know," Dana said. "But you did it the right way. You documented everything. You stayed calm. You did not let her intimidate you." She paused. "A lot of people would have just paid the fees and moved on." I thought about that. I thought about how close I came to doing exactly that. I thought about the 72-hour deadline and the fake hearing notice and the tow truck threat. I thought about how easy it would have been to just give up. But I did not. And Teresa lost everything because of it. I still live in Clearbrook Village. The new board is better. The new policies are working. The neighborhood is quieter. But I still keep the thumb drive in my jacket pocket. I still keep the evidence binder in my closet. I still keep the portal audit log framed in my kitchen. Because you never know when you will need proof. You never know when someone will try to rewrite the story. You never know when a portable thumb drive and a printed audit log will be the only thing standing between you and a lie. I will catch you again soon.